We often hear of women fighter pilots. They began their journey in the fighter stream of the Air Force in 2018. Avni Chaturvedi was one of the first. But women really began their journey in the Air Force 31 years ago. Air Marshal Jha.
Yeah,
how's the journey been? What are the kind of changes you've seen over the years?
I was a young squad leader when this journey began. Actually, the first change that I saw was in the crew rooms, where certain changes were made to make it more gender neutral. I mean, that's on the lighter side, because crew room used to be a place, all male, chill out location. Like you said, journey began in 91, and by 93, the first batch of women officers joined the Indian Air Force, and they were the engineers. And within 1 year, we already had them in the flying branches, both helicopter and transport. And by 96, we had them in all the ground duty branches. The initial tenure was only for 5 years. Why? Because military has been traditionally a male-dominated sector. So we wanted to take it slow. And at the end of 5 years, depending upon how they adapted and how the military adapted to them, the idea was to grant them extension. But at the end of 5 years, we did not have enough data, so the scheme was extended. And then, like life, unexpected things happened. Kargil conflict broke out. And whatever changes that were anticipated had to be frozen. Immediately after Kargil, we had the Kargil Review Committee, and followed by the Ajay Vikram Singh Committee for cadre restructuring. So whatever changes that were anticipated were actually put on hold. The real change began from 2010, when the women were granted permanent commission for the first time. 2015, the first batch of women fighter pilots joined in, but the pace of change has actually snowballed in the last 3-4 years. You know, the woman in fighter stream has been made permanent. Girls have started joining Sainik school. Even NDA has been open to girls. So I was in NDA just 2 months ago for the passing out, and there I saw young, bright girl cadets marching shoulder to shoulder with their boy counterparts.
In fact, we must tell the audience that the Air Force is open to women in all combat roles.
Yes, absolutely. So today we can very proudly claim to be gender neutral. There is no branch or avenue that is not open to women. Absolutely.
Right. Now, when it comes to getting women into all combat roles, give us a sense of the kind of challenges there are, especially getting them into the fighter stream.
You know, every soldier is part of combat, irrespective of what he or she is doing. You know, I'll take you back to Balakot, and the next day, you know, if you recall, we shot down one Pakistan aircraft, fighter aircraft. And who was responsible for that? Squad leader Minty Agarwal, a woman fighter controller. So she has been, and like her, many women, even in Kargil in 99, there were so many of them who were flying the transports, the helicopter, doing controlling, both on radar and in the air traffic, maintaining aircraft, loading weapons. So in some form or the other, each one of them was contributing to the combat effort. Yeah, fighter flying gets associated with combat because there's a certain glamour attached to it, the dogfight, the fighting of missiles. But as far as we are concerned, each one of them is a combatant in their own right.
You're very right. And as you were hearing Air Marshal Jha, the achievements of Group Captain Shakti Sharma, Wing Commander Deepika Mishra, and Squadron Leader Sindhu Reddy, it's quite clear that if a women Air Force officer is flying a helicopter into a rescue mission in a cyclone-affected area, into a flood-affected area, it's as much a combat operation as doing something on the border.
Absolutely, absolutely. The risk element involved, the challenges are as many. As
Give us a sense of what is the kind of numbers, the increase in applications that you're seeing over the years, is there an increase in applications when it comes to women officers? Over the years, are you seeing an increase?
Yeah, today, and we take 2 batches every year, at an average between 30 to 50,000 per batch, they apply for joining the Indian Air Force. And unfortunately, we are able to take so few of them. Yeah. But because we are limited by our cadre strength, and we possibly can't take more than that.
Right. So you have about 2,000 women in the Air Force right now, and of course the numbers will increase. Ladies and gentlemen, you must have a look at the Disha page of the Indian Air Force, where they're actually encouraging girls, young men to join the Air Force. And that had a very interesting poster some weeks ago, that of 3 women, and all of them were urging the youth to join the Air Force. So 3 women on a poster for the Air Force for recruitment. Are women the ambassadors of the Air Force when you go to different places in the country to recruit women and recruit men?
Absolutely. They are our poster girls, So we are very proud of their achievement. We are very proud of everything that they are doing, during training, during operations, bringing in change. They are leading from the front, from wherever they are. And there is all the reason for us to showcase them as role models for the youth of the country to join.
Right. Now, speaking about the kind of interest that your women officers have in joining combat roles, I've heard that many of them were very interested in getting into the Garud, which is the special forces of the Indian Air Force as well. Tell us about that, sir.
Yeah, Garud is a special forces, like you mentioned. They undertake very high-risk missions. But to be able to undertake those high-risk missions, they have to attain very high levels of physical fitness. And it's the selection process itself is extremely grueling, and the training even more so. Garud Force is open to women. We have had women who have applied for that. Unfortunately, no one as yet has succeeded in completing this course, but I'm certain it's just a matter of time when women will be found even in Garud Forces.
Over the years, what are some of the changes that you've had to make? Were there more physical changes in training centers, or was it changing the mindset?
Both. The physical infrastructure was the simpler change. It's just a matter of having adequate funds and a place to create toilets and changing rooms and so on and so forth. Mindset was more of an apprehension in our mind. We did feel that male-dominated military attitude, male would find it difficult to accept women as equals. In fact, we were more apprehensive that the younger or the personnel below officer rank may find it difficult to accept women as their officer leading them. But we have realized over the period that most of these apprehensions were unfounded. It has actually given us a lot of confidence, gladdened our heart, and that actually has given us confidence in inducting women as Agniveers. It was easier than we actually had anticipated.
When we speak to corporate houses and ask them this question, and I'm sure we'll ask this question through the evening, what do women bring to the table? Why is it so important to have gender parity? This is no longer a choice. This is something we need. We need more women to contribute to the workforce, and everyone says this leads to more balanced decision making. But if we ask you that question, what do women bring to the forces worldwide?
Women do bring balance. There is no doubt about it. They also bring in a certain level of sanity, a different perspective, how small decisions can affect in ways that men cannot even imagine, perhaps, So it is good to see officers like Group Captain Shakti Sharma, who are in higher ranks, and we'll soon have more of them. They present a different perspective, and that's invaluable. Because ultimately, military, during war or combat situations, and even in peacetime, after all, affects lives. And it is important to have a wholesome, balanced view of the effect that military can have on life, rather than just a one-side story. We have had a women organization in terms of AFWA, but since they are not part of the policy making, their influence has been limited in more of welfare, and they have contributed tremendously. But having women amongst us drafting policies and giving valuable inputs on it, it's been very good. Very good.
And you've just started inducting women through the Agniveer scheme.
Yeah.
Women who will be inducted will be called Agniveer Vayus, if I'm not wrong. How's that experience been? How enthusiastic are these young cadets who are training right now? Give us a sense of the kind of interest you saw for this scheme, especially from women and young girls.
I have been involved in the Agnipath scheme, and right from beginning, I was Joint Secretary Air before I became the Air Officer in Charge Personnel, and right from the inception of the scheme, I have been part of it. The 31 years experience, or it was 28 odd years till that time, has come handy in actually opening the doors for women in Agniveer. We have had 28,000 women applicants for the first batch. Even though our numbers are very limited, we have taken only 155. So almost 1 in 200 is what we have selected. An absolutely brilliant crowd has come in. I would like to share with this audience that the enthusiasm, because our teams reach out far and wide, and the enthusiasm in the girls from, I'll just digress a little bit. What excites us most is that a large section of women did not think it possible to join the armed forces, because at that time you could join only as officers. But this Agniveer Vayu scheme has now given this aspiration to a majority of the girls from Tier 2, Tier 3 cities, even rural areas, a desire to be part of the armed forces. And that is truly exciting. Many of them will remain with us after 4 years, but many more who go back to society are the ones who will be the real change makers for this country. Having seen Air Force, having seen a way of life, like our officer put it, having seen and armed forces, Air Force particularly, we are very proud of it. We offer the best that this country has to offer. Okay, so having seen that best way of life, they'll be game changers. This is our 4th week of training for the first batch. There are issues that the muscle mass of the people from these rural areas is not adequate. Some of them are anemic. So we have scientifically designed weight training for them, scientifically designed diet for building muscle mass. We are laying artificial tracks so that the stress fracture and the other things that used to happen earlier don't happen. Each one of them, when they go back to society, will carry this message in some form or the other. And their sisters, their cousins, as they grow, their daughters, they will perhaps not suffer the same thing that the present lot has suffered. So that way, we in the armed forces always keep feeding back, other than war, other than combat, other than providing security, how else can we contribute to the society? And this is a huge, huge, huge opportunity through the large number of women Agniveer who will go back to contribute to the nation at all times.
No, that's beautifully put, and we'll sum it up now, Air Marshal Jha. My final question to you would be, Today, anyone aspiring to join the armed forces, especially the Air Force, what are really the avenues, the range of activities and manner in which they can contribute to the nation? If today you had to inspire a young girl to join the Air Force, what would you say?
I would say to the young girl that everything that you see in the air, fascinating, be it Rafale, C-130, the Sukhoi 30 doing aerobatics, the Sarang helicopter team, and one of the officers here has been in Sarang, the Surya Kiran, and disaster relief. If you have seen helicopters coming to your village and rescuing people in distress, if you've seen transport aircraft getting oxygen when the COVID wave was on, whatever you've seen has excited you. If you've seen high technology, if you see supply chain management, you name it, because the armed forces, the Air Force is a complete system in its own. It's a self-sufficient system. So from high technology to accounting to leadership, everything is here, including sports, including adventure. You name it, and it's there for you within the Air Force. And at the same time, you are doing a service to the nation.
All right, Air Marshal Jha, thank you so much for putting all of that into perspective for our audience. That was a wonderful conversation, and thank you very much for joining us all the way from Delhi. Air Marshal Jha, Air Officer in charge of personnel, handling recruitments and training of all women in the Air Force. Thank you once again.
Thank you.